So
C is not being heard at this point, though.
I know, but it's part of, well,
let's do 8B. Okay, 3 minutes.
Madam Mayor, how much time?
3.
well, that's the, hang on a second, we got two things. We got the transfer from GWP, excuse me, from general fund back to the GWP, wait, look at myself. From GWP back to the general fund, that's one item. And the other one is the stabilization.
Stabilization is D.
Of the $24 million.
Oh, no, C.
So,
Let's see.
what do we, I planned on talking, one just for 2 minutes, the other one for 3.
Okay, go 2 minutes on the
One and 3 minutes. Oh, okay, thank you. So 2 minutes on one, that's all I need, and 3 minutes for the other one.
Madam Mayor, if we're going to do
Yes.
that, can we just have Mr. Kasakian read an 8C in the record? I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Certainly. 8C, Madam Mayor, 8C is Director of Finance regarding Pension Rate Stabilization Program. C1 is a resolution adopting the Pension Rate Stabilization Program administered by Public Agency Retirement Services. 2 is a motion awarding agreement to Public Agency Retirement Services. And 3 is a motion to executing documents with the U.S. Bank of Discretionary Trustee Services. 4 is a resolution adopting a new general fund reserve policy. 5 is a resolution approving $24 million from general budget fund on designated fund balance 25300-1012 PERS rate stabilization general budget fund non-departmental.
Okay, so
That
Mr.
sounds
Mueller, you're
like-
going to
that
take
sounds
2,
like they're all
okay, you're going to take 2 minutes to
Yeah,
comment on 8B, and then I
and
have
then-
a couple of other cards for 8C. So
Okay, all
take
right.
your 2 for the
Thank you,
transfer.
Mayor, very much. I appreciate it. Good evening, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. Council members, since and when and where was the last time this council or any other council has transferred money from the general fund back to GWP water fund? Is this because of the lawsuit? If that is the case, I would like to thank the People's Attorney, Professor Harry Zabos, publicly, since he was instrumental in filing this lawsuit on behalf of Glendale ratepayers. Thank you. Okay, now I have the 3 minutes already for the item 8C, the stabilization program. Council members, my name is Mike Mohill again. Why are we putting the interest of our CalPERS union employees before the folks who have to pay the bills? Why are you taking $24 million from the Demise Redevelopment Agency and putting those funds into an irrevocable trust? Is it in case of our jewel city, sooner or later, when we have to file for bankruptcy, that the trust money will not be touched by the courts? Why don't you tell the people that the contract you have signed with our CalPERS union employees comes before fixing, mind you, fixing our roads, GWP infrastructure, parks, libraries, public transportation, youth and senior program, as well as other needed city services? Why don't you tell your constituents that those outrageous salary increases you continue approving also increases the taxpayers' obligations for city employees' future retirement pension benefits? According to the staff report, CalPERS expects future city contribution rates to increase substantially for both safety and miscellaneous employees to a whopping 77% of payroll by the year 2031. Council members, why don't you tell the people the reason you are putting the $24 million into this irrevocable trust is because you want to have the best, the very best employees that money can buy. And should the city of Glendale file for bankruptcy, that $24 million cannot be touched by the courts. Today, what city has put their constituents' money into an irrevocable trust in order to guarantee, in case of bankruptcy, $24 million of their money to pay city employees whose retirement pension benefits they could only envy? And why is this council hedging their bets in favor of our CalPERS union workforce rather than the folks who voted for you to protect their interests first? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cho, first of all, it seems that I've read that many cities are adopting this trust fund.
Yes, ma'am. That's actually
Vehicle.
correct. faced with the options of just keeping it in their own treasuries and earning 100, 150 basis points, or giving it to PERS without the assurance that it will result in a reduction, an absolute assurance that it will result in a reduction of the UAL. I believe it's more than 100 cities have moved forward with this kind of trust. And we call it, it is termed, we talk about trust as being irrevocable. As I have said several times, however, the idea that you have the ability at any time to tap these funds for pension costs eats away at, or at least modifies the context of the irrevocability of this trust. To the extent that you would use it to pay pension costs, and the very next year you could do that and thus subsidize yourself, take those monies, put it back into the Treasury, and do any number of other things that you would seek to do as a policymaker. I would also suggest to you that, while I appreciate Mr. Mohill's comments, the idea that you would take one-time monies, non-recurring monies, and dial them into ongoing or recurring services is problematic. I would argue that that's how a number of the cities that he often talks about got themselves into trouble in the first place. The idea here is to be as disciplined as you can, knowing that these are dollars that aren't going to return. They are manna from heaven. And so we take these dollars, put them away, knowing at some point in the future we have the obligation to spend them on the services that all of our 200,000 residents appreciate.
Thank you.
I'm told 66 cities to be exact. That's more than 200 that have done OPEB and pension trusts. We don't have an obligation for the latter because the City Council already took the step of eliminating that OPEB liability to the extreme degree, 90% of that liability already, which was not easy, but it was done because, once again, fiscal responsibility trumps the short-term gain.
Roland Kadikian.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Roland Kadikian, and I am here on behalf of the Glendale Coalition for Better Government to urge you against approving the Pension Stabilization Fund. As has been explained, this is an irrevocable trust, an account setting aside funds only for the purpose and the benefit of city employee pensions. The trust fund cannot be used for any other purpose and cannot be taken back. Irrevocable trusts are asset protection tools. Their primary purpose is to set aside funds that cannot be reached by creditors of the city at any time, even in bankruptcy. These trusts have come into fashion because of CalPERS low returns, but also because of failed cities that have filed bankruptcies and attempted to strip pension obligations. At this point, the fate of Glendale is intertwined with the pension obligations to city employees. We, in essence, are all in it together. We sink or swim together. Everybody has an interest in resolving the pension crisis that Glendale faces. The city, the residents, and the employees, if they want to be assured that their retirement will survive the next 20 years. Creating this separate asset from Glendale provides additional guarantees to the pensions. Glendale gets nothing in return for providing this additional level of insurance. If funds are withdrawn, as Mr. Ochoa said, in a particular year to stabilize an annual payment, then the amount will not be available to earn investments. So these investments that we are thinking we're going to get, if we draw it down the next year, it's not going to be there. In practice, return can eat away by fees unless the fund is continually funded on an ongoing basis. Just as Mr. Ochoa said, it's best to continually fund it, not fund it one time and next year we don't have the money. So you can be assured every year staff will try to put money in this fund. The promised return on investment carry the same disclaimer as any other investments. Past returns is not guarantee for future results. Plus, we have heard agencies promise returns of 7.5%, but never delivered. How many times are we going to fall for that? There is no rush to adopt this fund. I urge you to not take the recommendation of the staff who happen to be the beneficiary of this fund. Spending the $24 million now is a free giveaway without getting anything from the city employees. Let them contribute to that fund themselves in addition to what they contribute to CalPERS. Please think on the long term. Think who will be paying these pensions in the future. If this is something the city employees would like to have to protect their pensions, maybe we can get all stakeholders together and start a conversation toward a real solution to city pension employees. We always want to be the first in police. We always want to be the first in fire. Why can't we be the first in pension resolution? Thank you.